Hello everyone, welcome to our virtual gallery. In this tour, we are going to show you everything about one of the most important inventions of all times, the printing press. To begin with, I'd like to ask you a curious question. Do you know who actually invented it? Let's start with that. Well, despite the fact that Johannes Gutenberg is widely known as the father of the printing press in Europe, he is a, but not the, source of printing. What's more, key innovations in printing technology began in East Asia several centuries before he was even born. The invention of this machine has roots that go back a long way in the Eastern history. The oldest known printed text was originated in China during the first millennium AD. In that period, woodblock and metal block printing were developed in Japan and Korea. Replacing those blocks, movable type was developed by Bi Cheng in China. Coming back to Johannes Gutenberg, we will move to the Western world. In 1450, in Europe, this man had the printing machine perfected and ready to use commercially, the Gutenberg press, which he used to produce what is considered to be the first book ever printed, a Latin language Bible known as the Gutenberg Bible. Consequently, although movable type as well as paper first appeared in China, it was in Europe that printing first became mechanized.
Now it's time for us to think about why this invention is so important. The answer is simple. The printing press is considered a defining invention for the development of civilization. The creation of this device changed both the hegemonic control of information and the course of history forever. So let's go deeper on analyzing how the printing press caused a worldwide impact. This mechanized printing press was one of the key factors in the expansion of the Renaissance movement, which was a fervent period of cultural, artistic, political, and economic rebirth. It took place from the 14th to the 17th century, and it is credited with bridging the gap between the Middle Ages and modern-day civilization. During this period, several aspects of society were affected and transformed due to this new invention. First of all, religion and literature were two of the most influenced ones. They were not two isolated features, but instead both depended on each other, since people of this era expressed their discontent with the state of the church through literature. During the Renaissance, books became the carriers of ideas, and critics of the Catholic Church became more numerous and outspoken. With the introduction of this invention in the continent, religious books were produced faster, cheaper, and easier. A lot of books were translated from Latin to their local language, including the Bible. This allowed people to draw their own conclusions about it instead of the church just leading them along. As those critical opinions entered the public discourse, those in power tried to censor it, but it was impossible. For example, Martin Luther, the Western history's most significant figure, was the first theologian to widely publish his ideas against the church. Science also found its way into this newfound ability to publish ideas and thought. Scientists began to share scientific findings and experimental data with a wide audience. The creation of the printing press brought about several benefits and new chances for the scientific community. For example, in the 15th century, Nicolaus Copernicus had the opportunity to rely not only on his own observations, but also on printing astronomical tables of planetary movement to develop his model of the galaxy. Therefore, scientists could now trust the fidelity of existing data and devote more energy to breaking new ground.
Education was also transformed. As we all know, knowledge is power, and this new machine helped spread it wider and faster than ever before. On the one hand, the low literacy levels of Europe immediately grew. That's because the cost of books steadily dropped and book fairs became very common. On the other hand, the availability of translated books encouraged people to read, since they could now understand them. If we take into account the context of that period, two of the most important aspects of the Renaissance were humanism and the importance of the individual. Therefore, the attention given to the development of an individual's potential put emphasis on education. Suddenly, what had been a project to educate only a few in that society became a project to put a library in every medium-sized town. Last but not least, positive and negative effects were present in the working aspect. From a negative point of view, the printing press introduced the world to the idea of machines stealing jobs from workers. Before it, bookmakers would employ dozens of trained artisans to hand copy manuscripts. But by the late 15th century, the printing press turned these people and their abilities obsolete. On the contrary, the huge demand for printed material led to the creation of an entirely new industry of printers, booksellers, and street peddlers.
Taking everything into consideration, the printing press changed the whole world and affected people's lives forever. It had a huge effect on spreading ideas, thought, news, education, being informed, and promoting tolerance of speech. Besides, it was the basis for the development of many other newer inventions and philosophical or scientific movements which also revolutionized the world, such as the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution.